Welcome everyone to this webinar on the opportunities in the pharmaceutical sector between India and Peru. I ask all of you, if you're not speaking right now, to please turn off your microphone so we can hear the speakers properly, please. So this webinar organized by INCHAM Peru, the Indian Embassy in Lima, and Telangana's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It's very pleased to welcome you all. So we have a really good panel here to discuss these opportunities for the pharmaceutical sector. We're going to be starting with a welcoming address from the Ambassador of India in Peru, Mr. Mandarapu Subbarayudu. And again, I'd like to ask everyone that's not speaking to turn off your microphones. Welcome, Ambassador.
Thank you, Gabriel. Our chief guest, Shri Jayesh Ranjan Garu, Honorable Minister of Medical, Health and Family Welfare of the state of Telangana, will be joining us shortly. Special guest, Shri Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary for Industries, Commerce, Information Technology in Telangana. Shri M. Venkateshwarlu, President of Telangana Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Shri Rohit Rao, President of INCHAM, the Indian Chamber of Commerce in Peru. Distinguished speakers, Peruvian friends and participants. Namaskaramu, buenos dias. It gives me immense pleasure in extending a warm welcome to all of you to this virtual session on business opportunities between the Indian state of Telangana and Peru, with a special emphasis on pharmaceutical sector. Today, we are commemorating Constitution Day. It was on this day in 1949, the Constitution of India was adopted. We pay our respects to the framers of the Constitution and its chief architect, Baba Saheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. We are privileged to have the gracious presence of the Honorable Minister and thank him profoundly for taking time off his busy schedule to be with us as the chief guest. He will be joining us very soon. I also thank the Principal Secretary for his participation. This business event being held by the Embassy of India in collaboration with the State of Telangana, the two chambers, TCCI and INCHAM, has acquired critical importance owing to such high-profile participation. Let me convey my appreciation to all speakers, industry representatives from both sides and the two chambers. India and Peru share close and friendly relations marked by growing trade and business cooperation. The complementary nature of the two economies allows mutually rewarding partnership, especially in post-COVID period. In the calendar year 2019, the two-way trade stood at $2,667 million. India is the 7th largest global trading partner of Peru. And for India, Peru remains the 4th largest trading partner in Latin America. Yet, the full potential is far from being realized. The negotiations are being held to finalize a trade agreement and a number of other bilateral documents to further strengthen institutional mechanisms and framework. In India-Peru discourse, under current circumstances, health, technology, and energy emerge as three broad focus areas of potential. When we talk about opportunities between Telangana and Peru also, these three sectors are relevant because they represent Telangana's core strengths. If India is the pharmacy of the world, Telangana is India's hub of pharmaceuticals. The state accounts for close to 20% of India's global pharma export. Also, Telangana is an attractive investment destination across many sectors in general and pharma sector in particular. It's pharma city, which is expected to emerge as a trendsetter with smart ecosystem, offers investment opportunities for Peruvian companies. Peru's pharmaceuticals market has been growing, and so is India's share. In 2019, India was the fifth largest supplier with a market share of 7.5%. This share has now risen to 10.7% in the first 10 months of this year, after having registered a 67% growth compared to previous year. In fact, India became the largest supplier of pharma products to Peru in July and September, and the positive trend continues. Hyderabad-based companies, MSN Labs, DVs, Genex, Celon, Vasudha Pharma, etc. have business connections or presence in Peru. Some of them are already supplying pharma products and organic chemicals. We are encouraged by the interest shown in Peru recently by Arbindo Pharma and Dr. Reddy Labs. In view of COVID-19 induced health emergency, Peru announced zero tariffs on 32 pharma products until 7th of December, and this special provision may remain in place for some more time. This is an opportunity available for pharma companies of Telangana. India accounts for 1/4 of vaccine manufacturing capacity globally, and 60% of vaccines supplied to the developing world come from India. Our reputation as an important global supplier of high quality and low cost vaccines and the technological sophistication of our vaccine industry offer huge opportunity. The $350 million medical devices market in Peru represents another significant opportunity. I wish to draw the attention of industry to a 5-step registration process with the Directorate General of Medicines, Supplies and Drugs, DHMID of Peru before undertaking exports. Indian companies would need to tie up with authorized local representatives to register their medical devices before exporting to this country. The detailed registration procedure can be seen from the embassy's website. We invite Peruvian companies to be a part of the global investors in Telangana. They can also look at opportunities that emanate from dedicated special manufacturing zones that Government of India is planning for production of pharma, medical devices, and active pharma ingredients. As a hub of innovation and technology, Telangana is eminently qualified to partner with Peru in providing solutions. Opportunities in energy sector, especially renewable energy equipment like solar plants and panels, power generation equipment, and electrical machinery can be explored. Let me once again welcome our guests and invite our guests to share their thoughts. I am confident that presentations during this session will broaden our understanding, help identify opportunities for greater business engagement between Telangana and Peru. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for that warm welcome to all our guests and panelists today. Do we know, is Chief Guest Shri Jayesh Ranjan here or not yet? The Honorable Minister. Is he with us right now?
Not yet. Maybe you can invite Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, please.
Of course, we'll invite, give us a few words when he joins us. So next up, we've got this very special keynote address by a special guest, Shri Jayesh Ranjan. He's Secretary of Industries, Commerce and Information Technology for the government of Telangana. And he's going to be talk on synergies in the pharma sector. A short introduction, special guest. He's the only topper of his IAS batch of 1992. He has done international consultancy assignments for the World Bank, UN ESCAP, the SEDATU project of Mexico, and for international NGOs working for youth issues, such as YES, Inc. of the USA, and NMC from Italy. He's also a part of the National Trainers in Leadership, constituted by the Government of India, and is involved in the training and mentoring of newly recruited civil servants. He holds a master's degree in psychology from Delhi University, a degree in business management from the Indian Institute of Management in Calcutta, and a master's in public management from Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy from the National University of Singapore. Welcome, Shri Jayesh Ranjan. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gabriel. Ambassador Subbarayudu, Mr. Rohit Rao, Mr. Venkateshwarlu, members of INCHAM Peru, participants from India, good morning, good evening to everyone. I'm honored to be given this opportunity to speak about the prowess of Hyderabad, the city that I represent in the life sciences, biotechnology and medical devices sector. Of course, when our Honorable Minister joins, he will be speaking much more elaborately, but I'll try to give a very quick overview, which also can be a very good context in which you will understand Honorable Minister's ideas and thoughts. So the roots of the pharmaceutical and life sciences industry in Hyderabad go very, very deep. In fact, this industry is more than 5 decades or 50 years old in this city. Some of you may know that when India became independent in 1947, the Prime Minister at that time, Prime Minister Nehru, he decided to follow a government-led industrialization model. He was influenced by the Soviet model and he created large public sector undertakings or government undertakings which will lead the industrialization process. And one decision which he took was that he decided to decentralize these PSUs to different parts of the country. And he chose Hyderabad for the pharmaceutical sector. So a very large government company was set up in Hyderabad in late 50s, which is called the Indian Drugs and Pharmaceuticals Limited, IDPL. And of course, the IDPL today is not as large as it was then. But what IDPL did was to create lots of entrepreneurs who decided to come out and set up their own pharma companies. And in the process today, there are 800 life sciences, biotechnology, pharmaceutical companies in Hyderabad. And in fact, 40% of countries' pharmaceuticals, bulk drugs and formulations actually come from Hyderabad. In the last 2.5 decades, we have also become a very important sector for biotechnology. And again, this will amaze you when I share this statistic with you that 1/3 of world's vaccines are manufactured in Hyderabad. Not 1/3 of India's vaccines or 1/3 of Asia's vaccines. Actually, 1/3 of world's vaccines are manufactured here. In fact, if you look at the African continent, practically the entire vaccine supply to that continent happens from Hyderabad. So we have a very strong, as I said, track record of more than 5 decades of developing these formulations, bulk drugs, intermediaries, and now vaccines and other biotech products. Indian companies, the Hyderabad-based companies have also started spreading all across the world. They have manufacturing facilities in the US, Europe, and as Ambassador mentioned, a few of them have also moved to Latin America, including Peru, Bolivia, etc., etc. So there are 2 points which I want to highlight here. One is that if there are Peruvian or Bolivian companies who have a interest in looking at exploring India, then Hyderabad will be the most suitable location, because as I said, over the last 5 decades or so, the ecosystem that we have here has evolved perfectly. We have dedicated industrial parks for life sciences, for biotechnology, for medical devices. We are in the process of developing world's largest industrial park for pharmaceuticals, which is called the Hyderabad Pharma City. In fact, nowhere in the world will you find a 20,000 acres industrial park, which is completely self-contained. There are zones for different kinds of manufacturing. There are facilities for effluent treatment. There are research centers. There are quality certification labs. There are logistics parks, warehouses, and of course, housing, social infrastructure. So a very self-contained kind of a ecosystem. The colleges and universities in Hyderabad train roughly 3,000 pharmacists, chemists, and other scientists, biotechnologists who are required by the industry. And the industry doesn't have to look outside Hyderabad to recruit talent. Similarly, there are FDA, the entire regulatory processes of getting, let us say, FDA approvals for the US, European approvals, Japanese approvals. All these agencies are part of the ecosystem. And tomorrow, if any Peruvian company or a Bolivian company has interest, he just needs to kind of step in and express their interest before us, and we will make all arrangements for helping them come and start their units. Some of you will know that our Prime Minister, roughly 5 years ago, 6 years ago, started a national campaign called Make in India. And in the process of that national campaign, he also encouraged states to reform, states to improve their ease of doing business. And I feel very proud to share with you that the state which has reformed the most, which has made ease of doing business perfect, is our state, our province of Telangana. And multiple, in fact, there are companies of 18 countries of origin who have manufacturing presence in Hyderabad in the life sciences sector. Of course, we have large number of American companies, but we also have European companies, we have Chinese companies, Japanese companies, Korean companies, and so on and so forth. So, of course, I don't recall having any Latin American company, but we do have Spanish companies. In fact, one of the largest Spanish pharmaceutical company called Chemo, they have a manufacturing facility and they're expanding it, and they're really flourishing and thriving. So any Colombian company which is looking at India, I would invite him to explore Hyderabad. And if the value proposition that we can create is good enough, we'll be very happy to support. I also have another responsibility that I encourage local homegrown companies who are based in Hyderabad and Telangana to find new overseas markets. I'm also the exports secretary for the state. And as I mentioned to you, our companies manufacture vaccines which are supplied all over the world, including the entire Africa, and so on and so forth. So if there is an interest in welcoming companies out of India and out of Telangana to explore market opportunities in Peru and Bolivia, and if we are told about the government policies, etc. In Hyderabad, for example, if a Peruvian company has to set up a manufacturing facility, government gives subsidized lands, government takes responsibility for the entire infrastructure. We create a package of incentives, so we give lots of tax breaks, etc., etc. The government takes complete responsibility at our own cost of providing skilled manpower to you. So we do the training programs, etc. We help with all the regulatory compliances, approvals, etc. And if there is any other challenge which the company faces, then the government helps them very proactively to find solutions. So if a similar kind of business environment exists in Peru and Bolivia, and I would request INCHAM representatives to share more details with us. I'll be very happy to disseminate it with the Hyderabad-based companies and encourage them to look at opportunities in these countries. So once again, I'm very happy that we are discussing this very relevant theme in the current COVID scenario. The importance of health and immunity and a holistic, balanced lifestyle has become even more important, and definitely exploring strengths on both the sides in India as well as in Peru will definitely be very, very synergistic, will be a win-win for everyone. And I look forward to learning more about your country from INCHAM participants and other speakers. So once again, very happy to have been given this opportunity. I will type my email ID in the chat box. So if any one of you want to have any issues clarified, or if you want to consult me for anything, I'll be very happy to get your mails and send replies to you. So once again, grateful to INCHAM, to Telangana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and to Ambassador Subbarayudu himself for inviting us and giving us this platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those words. I'm sure our guest will be very interested in learning more and more about what opportunities they can find in India. There's a few comments already in the chat box. We'll try to get to them at some point, if time allows. Next up, we've got a presentation by Dr. Pier Levaggi, General Manager of Nipro Medical. He's a medical surgeon with a double international MBA from Tulane University and the Catholic University of Peru, Centrum. And he's got over 17 years experience in the pharmaceutical sector, manufacturing and importing, and in the last 8 years specifically on medical devices and diagnostic devices. So welcome, Dr. Levaggi. You have the floor now. Sorry. Dr. Levaggi, are you with us right now?
Yes, hello. Thank you for those words. It's an honor to be here with you, Mr. Ambassador, Ambassador authorities, prestige speakers, and organizers. I'm going to do a brief presentation regarding the pharmaceutical industry and a little bit about Peru, so that you have some information about my country nowadays. I don't know if we can see the presentation. Everybody sees the presentation? ¿Se ve, Gabriel?
We can see it fine, yep. Thanks.
Okay. So the milestone of the presentation is a situation analysis. Then we will speak about health indicators, the health care system in Peru, the public market, the private market, and at least our core business right now in Nipro, that's the chronic kidney disease market. Well, actually, right now we have a new president in Peru. It's Francisco Rafael Sagasti. He assumed charge the 17th of this May. It was abrupt due to the resignation of the interim president Manuel Merino due to the vacancy of Martin Vizcarra and the process nationwide level that at the end 2 persons died at this protest. No? So we have a new president from November 17th. And the specific challenges he mentioned in his first speech was to fight the pandemic, the economic growth and the management of public finance, the recovery of education, and finally, fight against corruption. That's a great dilemma here in Peru nowadays. This information is quite old, but it's the one that I got out of the web. Income per capita is around 6,500 soles. Inflation was 2% before COVID. I think right now we are about 6%, 6 to 8%. Unemployment was 6.7. Now we are in a double-digit unemployment. The exchange rate last month was from 355 to 366 per dollar, and the national budget was over $50 billion. This was before COVID or last year. As you can see, if we make a comparison between countries, Peru is a country in value that has the lowest percentage in all Latin America. We spend about $656 per capita in health. We have a little bit higher percentage regarding GDP in health, but when we evaluate it in money value, we have one of the lowest of Latin America. The key factors that are impacting the drugs basically are economical, the variation of income in the family, climatological, especially when we have seasonal or climate changes, epidemiological, especially when we have this kind of diseases like the pandemic, and the health system, the finance and the delay of purchase or the poor distribution of the service done by the public sector. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to divide the market in two different scenarios: the public market and the private market. First of all, we have to have the awareness that Peru has a population of 32 million, more than 32 million people, and out of those 32 million, more than 50% are women. So we are dominated by the woman side. In the public sector, we have divided in three areas: health ministry, which represents 54% of the market, Social Security, that represents 29% of the market or above, and the armed forces. In the private market, we have health entities. Usually these health entities are the ones that work directly with the public market and private insurance. As you can see, the company or the entity that spends the most money is the health ministry, about $5 billion. Public market, Social Security, 2.8, and the private market as a whole, $2.9 billion. If we see the drug dispensing, 68% is done by the hospitals. So basically, public health takes about 78% of the distribution. This is in units, and in the other side is in value, soles, our currency. Here we can see how the difference between what was purchased in the month of January 2018 versus 2019. Last year, 2018 was a much higher sales regarding 2019. In retail, we have the biggest purchase is $3.7 billion. And we have two large entities. One is the Social Security that we call Salud, and the other one is the Health Ministry. Basically, these two entities will have two large tenders. They will have one large tender for each entity every 1 or 2 years. Here was the last tender for Salud. They bought $62 million. And basically, the company that sold the most was Medipharma. This is a national company. We have the things marked in blue. Nobody bet on those drugs, so these are nobody. The entity couldn't buy these drugs, and the prices, the value that we represent right here includes the sales tax. Then we have the Health Ministry, which is it's $106 million, and again, the biggest seller in this tender was Medipharma. It's a local company. And then Droguería Sagitario is a local company. And finally, Laboratorios Americano is a company that imports drugs from China and India. Retail market. As you can see right here, the retail market regarding June has, if you compare it with one year back, is having in evolution. The quantities in dollars have gone down regarding it. We compare the last year, especially in the in the brand division. The evolution, if we see the total market in values have decreased regarding 2019 to 2020 that the total value, the value has decreased, but the number of units have increased a little bit. So from 2017, every year we have increased our sales, but from 2019 to 2020, this has decreased in values, but in values, but not in units. Out of the retail market, we got 62% of the retail market mainly managed by chains of pharmacies and 38% with independents. Out of these, independents are short pharmacies outside, then mini chain of pharmacies, and then we have a place like a market called Capon, where they sell this quite large quantity of products. If we look at the chain of pharmacies, which is 62%, hello? If we look at the chain of pharmacy, 62%, they are managed by two companies, Inca Pharma and Mi Pharma. These companies, they have different brands, but they are the same owner, the bank Interbank, no, or Intercorp. They own both companies, Mi Pharma and Inca Pharma. If we look how they react to the market, the chains of pharmacies basically sells more brands and more third-party manufacturer of their brand and less generic, while the independents sell more generic and less brands. Here is the evolution of the sales in chains of pharmacies against independents. As you can see, the market of milks is dominated, especially by the chain of pharmacies. Look how it had gone in the last few years, the sales of milk and brand products. Well, then I'm going to talk about chronic kidney disease. In Peru, in the last 5 years, the treatment of chronic kidney disease nationwide was granted by Salud. By 2018, due to the intervention of the state, MINSA, the program called FISAL, the treatment has been drastically increased. The main reason we have a large quantity of people in chronic kidney disease is diabetes and hypertension. The age range is around from 46 to 64 years of age is the highest range of patients. By sex is prominent by male. This again. Only 1,500 patients have DPT, peritoneal dialysis, and the cost per session in Peru nowadays pays $64. In Peru, we have right now about 18,000 patients. 10,000 are covered by Salud, 5,800 by MINSA, and about 650 by the armed forces. The maximum number of patients that a dialysis center could have is 90 patients. This is for 3 models, 5 patients per model, 3 shifts. The shift treatment will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the other shift will be Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Lima has 84 centers. Other states outside Lima has 69 centers. The total number of centers we have nationwide is 153 centers. The Salud pays around $66 per session, MINSA $78 per session, and the Armed Forces $80 per session. We have one of the lowest price per session in Latin America. Colombia is the lowest, then Peru is one of the lowest after Colombia. And for example, in this meeting, we wanted to see how to make business. For example, my company is really interested in achieving products, these pharmaceutical products from India suppliers. As you can see, all these products are related with chronic kidney disease. And we are looking forward to find a supplier for these products in order to expand our portfolio. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc, for that presentation. It was really informative. So we've got some remarks by Mr. Venkat Sharlu, He's president of Telangana's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He has over 46 years of experience, and is in fact the founder president of Telangana's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He has worked with Andhra Pradesh Industrial Development Corporation, which is a state government undertaking, as well as numerous other important organizations. So welcome, Mr. Venkat Shirley. You have the floor now. I believe you have to turn on your microphone.
Is it all right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
We can hear you now.
So, okay. And His Excellency, Mr. Mandarapu Subbarayudu, Ambassador, our Principal Secretary, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, who has made a sea change in the industrial atmosphere of Telangana state right from the beginning, and Mr. Rohit Rao, President INCHAM. At the outset, I sincerely admire His Excellency on behalf of TECCI for initiating and for the initiative and interest shown by him in organizing this event at the most appropriate time. I personally feel, because now His Excellency and Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, our Principal Secretary, when they have spoken, and normally we will not have anything to speak on the subject, because both of them, in fact, the way the ambassador spoke with all the details is excellent. And in Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, he is an authority who can speak anything, and who is the person, as I already told you, he has made a sea change. The whole industrial scenario is in now up to the expectations of the people. So I just give some common remarks. I personally feel that there are mainly three ways or characters which contribute for creating a robust bilateral relationship between the countries. Number one, diplomatic attitude. Second, necessity keeping in view of the order of the day. And lastly, foreign trade. In this present context of the event, pharma sector plays its own crucial role for establishing a good bilateral relationship between India and Peru. Telangana state has emerged as the largest pharmaceutical hub in India, with its contribution to 35%, subject to correction because His Excellency had mentioned a different figure. But I think this is the latest, which I received from the concerned department. With its contribution to 35% to the national production, it has become the destination for more than 100 life sciences, employing about 120,000 persons. The Chamber of Commerce and Industry has drawn an ambitious plan to encourage MSMEs in the pharma sector. TECCI is also making its efforts to have more startups by making use of the incentives, exemptions, facilities being provided by the government of Telangana under the leadership of Mr. Jayesh Ranjan through the establishment of big parks like Pharma Park, Medical Devices Park, etc., which are designed in different methods to suit the foreign investors also. Several investors from USA, Canada, Dubai are in touch with us for providing the details to have a tie-up with local entrepreneurs and commence their operations in the following areas: hospital furniture and equipment, medical consumables, rehabilitation equipment, orthopedic supplies, pharmaceutical processing, filling, packaging machinery, dental equipment and supplies, laboratory and clinical equipment. India is a global player, which is third largest in the exports of pharma generic products in volume and 10th largest nation in the value. One of them, now coming to the crisis, because I do not, there's no need for me, and I'm not supposed to touch the points which our Principal Secretary has already made it clear, has already explained. Now, coming to the present pandemic, what TECCI is doing. Unfortunately, the pandemic COVID-19 has made all of us to recollect the word new normal, which was born in 2018, when the global economy had collapsed in 2018. Many people were not knowing the word, but now with its prevalence of formidable virus across the globe, this word has unavoidably become popular and became the talk of the town. Corporate and business community started looking at the pharma sector with various proposals to get associated with the sector. In the present context of this event, now one of the members of Telangana Chambers of Commerce Industry has invented a technology of eliminating virus through burnt tube lights within 15-20 minutes. This is scrutinized by the Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, Hyderabad, a Government of India enterprise. This process is on and will see the light of the day very soon. And secondly, one of our senior members, Dr. Mahesh Reddy, an NRI, he has made a lot of research and brought out a book on Corona, which is being released in the month of December. This has won the appreciation of several government authorities in the US. We will share the details of this book as soon as it is released. Now, it was already mentioned, but what we feel as members of Telangana Chamber of Commerce, the Indian companies have got a lot of potential in establishing their units in Peru in the areas of antivirus drugs, bulk drugs. Pharma companies can be established to look after these products. And Peru, as far as Peru, which can learn from India, because somebody was asking me to answer this question. A study on the policies and positions of the government of Telangana. It is now the credit goes to Mr. Jayesh Ranjan only, because the way the policies and procedures were formed, people, the countries, many countries, even I was told, even the Singapore also adopted the same methods, though who had learned something from them. But there is a study has to be done on the policy and procedures of the Telangana government to make use of these policies in Peru. A special attention towards the ease of doing business in pharma sector. In fact, when the Telangana state was formed, it was in the rank of 13th in the country. The moment immediately after the government was formed, within a year, it came to second rank, second position. Now it is almost number 1. And this ease of doing business, the procedures and how it came from 13th to number 1 position, that can be studied by Peru government. Because why I am telling you is that somebody was asking me what is that we can get from Telangana. And about the granting of subsidies, exemptions, incentives by the government of Telangana, they have also been taken into account by the government of Peru, which will yield the expected results. The synergy opportunities will be over $250 billion for the Indian pharma. Health and biotech sectors, if we can change the target and achieve objectives. Peru can be a gateway to expand these services to the whole of South America. And about TECCI activities, because a lot of brief has been given by the ambassador. In fact, ambassador is very good in telling about Telangana. I was very happy to listen to him, and I will, if I have any recorded version, I wanted to make record some things, some comments which were made by him. I will try for that later on. Now, coming to TECCI, Telangana Chamber of Commerce, the intention of the Chamber of Commerce is to promote trade, commerce, industry, agriculture, and to develop a good rapport with all foreign countries who have our chapters in USA, UK, Canada, Switzerland, Ethiopia, UAE, Germany, and Japan, etc. who have our people there who are heading these chapters. And the advisory board contains top IAS officers, top industrialists, administrators, academicians, and converting Hyderabad as solar city is one of the objectives of TECCI, which is in the process. So now with this, because nothing to mention about the industry, but I'm very grateful to Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, who was good enough. He is extremely busy today, along with the minister also, and I'm thankful to him for having visited. And once again, I sincerely thank the ambassador, His Excellency Mr. Subbarayudu, for giving me this opportunity, for having organized this event at the most appropriate time. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation. Thanks for those remarks. Next up, we've got a presentation by Dr. Shyam Sundar, who is chairman of the Gallen Senior Critical. He is the Senior Critical Care Specialist. He's medical director of Mumbai Hospitals, Hyderabad, guide for TMB anesthesiology, chairman of Telangana's Chamber of Commerce and Industries Medical and Health sector, and he's a fellow of Telangana's Academy of Sciences. Welcome, Dr. Sundar. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Pastor, and giving me for this opportunity to talk, and wish good morning to all of you at Peru, and good evening to my Indian counterparts. And my view will be a little different from what we spoke on with the focus on the pharma industry. As a clinician, I would put on my perspective of a good collaboration between both the countries and both from industries. And what I would say is that during the COVID pandemic has a huge impact all around the world, and our two countries are no exception to this. So, and this has ignited us to think a little more on the healthcare system. And there is now a paradigm shift in the perception of the importance of the healthcare, both by the rulers and the ruled. So there are a lot of commonalities between our two countries, and as far as the healthcare system and the pharma industries are concerned, like the public and the private hospital disparity, cost of the healthcare, and the cost of the medications, making it available to the common people, availability of the tertiary care in various parts of the country, in both of our countries, and especially the availability of the tertiary care in the remote areas. So what is my view on this is the possible areas of collaboration between both of us from a clinician's point of view would be like, of course, as my previous speakers have elaborated on the importance of import of the Indian manufactured drugs at a very low cost, and export of the drug manufacturing technology in the form of bulk drugs from India to the Peruvian counterparts. With the cooperation of the Peruvian government, which will be highly solicited to strengthen the system. Yeah. So the other place where we can collaborate more is on providing the technical know-how on the domestic production of both the biomedical instrumentation as well as the pharma industry. And what I was more stressing on the knowledge sharing of developing the domestic and disposables, which will be a new norm in the post-COVID era. And both of these organizations can make a valuable contribution to increase the production to be available at a lower cost in the local market. And the other point where I was trying to emphasize upon is the exchange program for the healthcare workers, like the doctors, nurses, and the paramedics, both from India and Peru, where they can share their knowledge and expertise and to increase the more numbers to be able to cater to the population. And the other point is identification of certain teaching hospitals, certain teaching facilities to train the doctors and the paramedics from the Peruvian healthcare workers, so that they can go back and be a part of the whole healthcare system. And I would again say that there is a greater role to be played by the telemedicine applications in both primary and tertiary care in both the countries, with that we can exchange our ideas and keep training and helping the patients to get better.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Sundar, for that presentation. Another presentation now by Mr. Oscar Chirinos, who is the General Manager of Alfil Andina. He's got 42 years actually in the pharmaceutical industry, 21 of which have been in the manufacturing of APIs in Synthesis Química S.A., Sinquisa, based in Lima, Peru. He was named also General Manager of Synthesis Farmaquímica Colombiana, SIFA, which is a manufacturing company of APIs in Bogota, Colombia. And since 1999, he's been the founder and CEO of Alfil Andina, a Peruvian company focusing the supply of APIs for the human and veterinary and pharmaceutical industry, with business operations across Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, Colombia, and even some countries of Central America. So welcome, Mr. Chirinos.
Thank you very much. First of all, my regards to the ambassador of Peru and Bolivia, the Indian ambassador of Peru and Bolivia, and also to Mr. Rohit Rao, who invited me to this conference. Good evening to all our friends in India, and good morning with our friends in Peru. I want to talk about the pharma industry, but not only in Peru, but the industry, how it has developed in all the 5 Andean countries. Because these 5 countries, Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, Colombia, and Venezuela, have the same language, have the same most common situations, which can be shared, and that can be a good opportunity for the pharmaceutical industry. Let me show you. You can see that these 5 countries can be easily one state of India, and that is the reason that the Indian company should have a very good idea how to approach the pharmaceutical industry in these countries, because we have a very small population by each one of these countries. These are the number of laboratories per country, the pharmaceutical plants. These are 210 pharmaceutical plants that are focused in human, veterinary, and also nutritional products. Those are production plants. Also, these are the name of importers or distributors of finished formulations, which are around 400 companies in these 5 countries. So we can see that Peru has around 110 importers or distributors of formulations. Colombia has 150, okay, Bolivia 50, and Ecuador 70. Those are rough numbers because this figure can change very easily. The main therapeutic classes in Peru. These 10 are the most important therapeutic classes for formulations. And these products, which are the most demanded in the private and public market. Peru has a list of medicines, which is ruled by the Ministry of Health, which are 738 medicines distributed in 32 therapeutic classes, which 150 products covers 80% of the disease. So that gives you a more clear picture about where is oriented the demand of the pharmaceutical products. Now, these figures, these rough figures, give an idea what to understand what I'm going to talk about, the pharma market. I have divided in last 5 years before COVID and during COVID. Before COVID, in the last 5 years, many multinational companies came to these countries to merge or to buy some laboratories, okay? And there was a big change in the offer of the formulations, especially in Peru. Companies from Israel, from US, from France, came and they bought some laboratories who were already established in these countries. Because we used to have very old products. So in the last 5 years, there was a renewal of the production and the offer of the products. I have to say that those who have visited India for the last 20 years, we have seen how fast has been the development of the pharmaceutical industry in India. And it has been really amazing. The way how the Indian companies have updated and they have invested in technology and in science. And now Indian companies are selling to the world more of the 60% of the APIs, which are more advanced products, not only for commodities, but also for very advanced products. Now, when COVID started at the beginning of 2020, the things have changed a lot. Most of the companies have been oriented to produce those products to fight against COVID. We have seen in Peru that many companies they derived their production mainly to these 6 or 7 molecules against COVID, but also to produce alcohol. For instance, alcohol has become one of the most important products that has been produced in the last 6 or 8 months. And also the importers of formulations, they started to bring many medical devices to be oriented for the COVID. So many of the projects, the developments, or the new launches of formulations has been stopped or has been postponed because all of them give the priority to the products against the COVID. So we don't know how long it's going to be, because until we have already established all the vaccine to cover the demand against COVID, all the companies will be stopping their production to the new developments. The opportunity is there. The opportunity, public and private demand is there, because now when everything will come again to the normality or stable situation, all those projects that have been stopped or delayed will be reacted and will start in a big growth of demand, because many diseases, many people have been stopped their treatments because the government have given priority to the products for COVID. I have to say that the import of finished formulations in these countries from India has been in a big demand in the last years. But I think that the correct way to approach these countries is not only selling finished formulations. I think that should be with investment on technology. India has developed a very important technology in the pharmaceutical industry. So we need, in this country, we need technology and we need investment in research and in science. Due to COVID, we have seen that science is one of the most important matters to the health of the people. Without science, we will not be able to fight against this pandemic. So I think that it should be a good call of attention to think about that investment in science, investment in technology, and investment in technology should be a good opportunity for those Indian companies who have already invested during the last 10 or 20 years in India, and they could have a wonderful field of partnership in Peru and other countries of the region. The trends and the skyline are this. The trend is that the pharmaceutical industry will have a very good option to have a big development with a wonderful business opportunity. I appreciate very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that great presentation, Mr. Chirinos. We have time now for some questions. We're going to be asking probably one question to each of our panelists to delve deeper into what's been discussed today. So our first question would be for Shri Jayesh Ranjan. So the question I would ask you would be, what opportunities are there for technology transfer programs between India and Peru, specifically regarding the pharmaceutical sector, right? Sorry, Mr. Ranjan. Okay, we'll ask the question in the meantime. No worries. And so, Mr. Venkat Shwarlu, the question I would ask you would be a different one, actually. So what technologies actually comprise India's biggest strengths in pharma? What sets it apart?
Mr. Maheshwaram, you are muted, please.
Sir, you can mute yourself, please.
The biggest opportunities for the pharma sector from Telangana is the Indian entrepreneurs can come to Peru. They can establish industries for antivirus drugs, bulk drugs, because we have got a lot of bulk drugs manufacturing companies. They can definitely come to Peru and establish their industries. And for all, I think about 4 or 5 companies I spoke to them because keeping in view of this event. And they have a thought now, even Aurobindo Pharma, I think they do not have operations in Peru, but they are also thinking of it. I do not know, but I did not meet the concerned top man. But some of the companies, there is every possibility some major companies can have their operations in Peru. And I will very soon, I will write to you, I will write to the INCHAM, and copy, it will also be marked to His Excellency, about the firms which are interested in establishing their plants in Peru. Within a week's time, I will send you a detailed note on that to the chambers and His Excellency also. And there are some companies which are into HIV wherever the HIV is rampant, they are also into that activity. And I will send you a report on that in a week's time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, Dr. Levaggi, I would like to ask you a question actually. And what do you think Peru's pharmaceutical sector could learn from India's?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What do you think Peru's pharmaceutical sector could and should be learning from India?
Well, basically, I think that in Peru, there's a problem with the regulation of importing products. Due to not having a large quantity of suppliers, sometimes the prices of the medicine are really high. Until May 2020, there are 2,980 distribuidoras or droguerías. To import products from whatever you want, you must be first a droguería. It's like a company registering the FEMIT. Right now, till May 2020, we are 2,980. We have spoken several times to the FEMIT to reduce the requirements, stating that if India companies have an FDA or a CE certificate, it's more than enough to start importing drugs to Peru, and this way have a more competitive and more number of products to select, and with competition, the price of the product must go down. So basically, I think the restrictions that we're having to import products from India and other parts of the country are the main concern of why we cannot increase the relationship with India and other countries.
Mr. Chirinos, do you think the actual context we're living in, COVID-19, does it present any synergy opportunities for Peru and India's pharmaceutical sector in the near future?
I'm convinced that we can have a wonderful match because we can combine the experience on the development of technology that India has worked in the last 10 or 20 years with the big opportunities that we have in these countries. I'm not talking about Peru, I'm talking about the 5 countries, because the 5 countries have the same needs. Big part of the population has been unattended by the social security or the health programs. So the demand is there, is non-satisfied. So, and if India has all the experience, the technology, and they have already made research and development of these products, I think that the match would be perfect. It's a matter of combine, first of all, as Pierre said, to flexibilize the laws to permit this kind of investment and this kind of merge. Because it's not a matter only to come to Peru and to build a factory. It's a matter to have a partnership. And a partnership will be success if there's a balance on it. So I think that if we change our mind and we change the way to see what a business in the pharmacy industry, in the health industry, not only pharmacy industry, is the health industry, because it's the health of the people of these 5 countries. I think that it would be a big step ahead if we can match this kind of opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Chirinos. Just briefly, could you tell us what do you tell an Indian company that's looking to do business in Peru?
Which was the question?
what would you tell an Indian company that's looking to do business in Peru? In the pharmaceutical sector, of course.
Pharmaceutical is very wide. Okay, there are many therapeutic classes and many pharmaceutical forms. So first of all, should be a good research, a good market research to see because not all the laboratories can produce all the molecules or all the pharmaceutical forms. We have oral forms, we have injectables, we have many diversified. So it's a matter of identifying where is the demand or not satisfied. For instance, we can think about cardiovascular products or gastro products or oncology products. And then in which form? If capsules, tablets, injectables, and that will be one specific, one dedicated, oriented plant. And as well as there's one, can be 2, 3, 4, or 5. Don't forget that Peru is in the middle of South America. We have a strategic position. And this strategic position should be a good opportunity for the Indian companies. Because from Peru, from Lima, not only Lima, from Peru, we can easily reach all the South American countries. We can reach the south in Chile in 3 hours. We have Bolivia, we can reach Colombia, we can reach Ecuador, we can reach Venezuela. So this is, it can be a hub for the pharmaceutical industries, as well as the airlines has decided that Lima is a hub for South America. This, in the same way, the pharmaceutical Indian companies should think that Lima would be, or Peru could be a hub for their investment, not only for the consumption in Peru, but for the rest of South American countries.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Dr. Levaggi, I'd like to ask you the same question, actually. What would be your message for an Indian company in the pharma sector looking to do business?
If the company wish to establish a company, a pharmaceutical company in Peru, first of all, they must be aware that the pharmaceutical sales in Peru are very small. So if you want to establish a pharmaceutical company, you have to think big. That in Peru you will manufacture and try to export to other companies like Chile, Bolivia, Colombia, or Ecuador. But if you are trying to think that the market's huge in Peru for pharmaceutical opportunity, I don't think that's a good option. If you try to expand to other countries of South Latin America, manufacture in Peru, that should be ideal. And for finished products, I think there's a great advantage. I think India has very top laboratory facilities that can produce products and reach at a great price for this kind of market.
To wrap up this great webinar, we've had some really good talks by our panel, and I think it's very clear that what the synergies are for these two countries in regards to the pharma sector, and that there are plenty of opportunities. But before we finish up, we're going to have some remarks from Mr. Rohit Rao, President of INCHAM.
Thank you very much. Thank you, dear Ambassador Subbarayudu. Thank you very much for clarity and helping us create this webinar along with the Telangana Chamber of Commerce. Indian Embassy always plays a very important role in getting all the chambers together. It makes a lot of difference. So we really like to thank Mr. Ambassador for all your help and all your information that you always keep on giving us. Also, a great thanks for Shri Jayesh Ranjan, who very clearly told us what is happening in India and what is going to happen in next 10, 15, 20 years ahead in line. I really feel we as INCHAM, not only as INCHAM, we also, for next 1-2 years, we are president of the Alliance Indian Chamber of Commerce. We're going to make a lot of propaganda so that people can really invest in India. in manufacturing, maybe not finished products, maybe tying up with the Indian companies for some sort of backward integration to get maybe the quality control done, get maybe some sort of a intermediate raw material done. I feel the synergies is huge, is very, very big. And there's nothing much more to add. All the speakers have given us a fantastic information. The presentation has been just too good. And thank you very much, Pierre. Thank you very much, Oscar. Thank you very much, Dr. Shyam Sundar, and our great colleague, Venkatesh Walla, for all your presentation and help that we needed. And there's nothing much to do. We already have this seminar taped, and we're going to share to all of our members, to all of our people around, and we make sure that everybody listens to this on different corners of Peru. And there's lots to do. We will keep on working together, and I feel huge synergies there between INCHAM and Telangana. Help of embassy, who's really been a backbone and structure for getting the Indian business ahead. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a good day in Peru and have a good evening in India. Thank you, Gabriel, for your help.
Thank you, everyone.